Hi, friends. Starting a little late, as usual. So today we are going to talk about recitals. Recitals, yay. And I have Eden Casteel as my guest here today. Do I have a thing? I do have a thing. So here is the thing. I'm going to tell you my story with recitals. When I was first teaching, the first 15 years that I taught, I only taught band people and professionals. So they were, or semi-professionals anyway. So they were performing anyway by themselves, and I didn't even have to think about recitals. And then I moved to the suburbs, dun, 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 and got a whole bunch of avocational singers in my studio. And then I had to start thinking about recitals. And what I loved about recitals was that it was sort of something everybody could shoot for and a goal we could all sort of aim for. And I also loved, after the recital was over, it was always really fun. But what I hated about it was that it made a whole lot of extra work for me. And what I really hated about it was that there were certain people in my studio that had such anxiety about, they wanted to do it, but they would get very stressed about it and very anxious and scared. And that did not make me feel happy. Hi, Hillary. And just in case Eden is watching, and I hope she is, thank you for this topic. And I met Eden at Ravinia. I know, she's so fancy, isn't she, that Eden? So, anyway, what I didn't love was that people would get anxious about it. So when I was at Nats and I saw my friend Eden doing this recital alternative speech and a presentation, wasn't a speech, it was a presentation because Eden is Miss Multimedia. I got really excited about it because I thought this is so helpful for so many people, because I believe I am not the only one who feels for your scared students and who doesn't really need all that extra work and all that pressure. So I got kind of excited by her presentation at the National Association of Teachers of Singing Conference. And we're going to talk about that today. So I'm going to very quick tell you who I am. I am Meredith Colby. I am the author of Money Notes, How to Sing High, Loud, Healthy, and Forever. Hi, Kathy Glickman, and which teaches Neuro-Vocal, a way to use brain science to teach healthy singing for popular styles. I also have a website and teach voice teachers, do teacher training and personal one-on-one lessons at meredithcolby.com, right there. And if you would like information about my Rock Belt workshop, which I will be doing next Monday, I will not be doing a live broadcast at that time because I will be doing this fun little mini workshop. Put dope in the comments, or if you're watching on YouTube, get it in the comments below. Put dope in the comments and you will get the Neuro-Vocal bot will send you a message with the link to that information as well as a discount promo code. So look there. Now for Eden's freebie today, there's just so many freebies here. We're just giving things away. Eden had created a freebie for this today. And if you put Eden in the links, there's only 3 letters in that. You can handle it. You will get her freebie about recital alternatives, some ideas, and also where to get more ideas. So that is really great. And now, with no further ado, I'll remind you about those later in the comments, by the way. We will invite Eden into... Hi, Eden. Wait. No, I still have you muted. Hold on. Every week, literally every week, I say, I need a production assistant.
Oh, heck. I'm a live streamer too, so I totally get it.
Okay, now, Eden, I want you to just kind of model while I introduce you. Make pretty face. There you go. Just hold that pose. There you go. A stunning coloratura soprano with a great sense of comic timing. That is so true. Performer and producer Eden Casteel is the host of The Eden Show, a weekly interactive online show featuring musical guests who sing, play, and love to talk. Using live stream technology, Eden is able to perform live with her guests, even if they are hundreds of miles apart. Wait a minute. I saw you do thousands of miles apart.
I did.
I saw
Germany
that
was
one.
my record. Yeah. Germany was my record.
That was cool. Eden's new solo show, Con Artist, that's Kahn, is a celebration of Madeline Kahn. Eden brings Con Artist to Davenport's Piano Bar on Friday, November 4th. Chicago people, put that on your calendar. Kathy Glickman and Hillary. With Becky Menzie on piano. Eden's clients are performers and recording artists in New England and beyond. From Ella to Elphaba. Gosh, I wonder who came up with that.
I wonder.
Classical to country, songwriting virgins to veterans. Eden coaches vocal techniques and performance and also supports clients with all aspects of songwriting and production. She is a producer. Isn't that fancy? Eden has arranged, coached, accompanied, recorded, and released 3 studio albums created by her students. People, listen up. A go-to since mid-2020. So in that short time. That's so cool. A go-to consultant during the lockdown of 2020, Eden gave presentations on low-latency technology and studio use to national and international groups, including the National Association of Singing, Teachers of Singing, the Speakeasy Cooperative, which is where we know each other, Vocology and Practice, the Kennedy Center American College Theater Festival, which wins the longest name award, and the Pandemic Proof Singer Summit, which we also shared the stage. That was great. Yeah. So, okay. Dang. That's just, and we could go on and on, couldn't we, Eden?
We could. I do a lot, kind of like you, Meredith.
I know. Well, I love the thing. I don't know if Karen came up with it, but I love it. The multi-hyphenated life.
Yes. Our friend Karen Michaels, who has the podcast, Your Creative GPS, which is regular listening for both of us, right?
Yeah. Yes. I love Your Creative GPS. It's really good. If you are not listening to Karen's podcast, Your Creative GPS, you should be, because it's really, really good. Okay. So Eden, talk to me, baby.
Yeah. So
is my situation common? Is that normal?
Yes. I mean, really, how much alcohol do we all drink after a recital?
A lot. And those of us who are classically trained, right, we tend to perpetuate what we learned. And it makes sense, right? Yeah. In the classical world, the recital was the ne plus ultra of what you do. And you do one every year. You do one as you're graduating. And then you're supposed to go out into the world and just recitalize, right? Or be on the opera stage. That's my new favorite word, recitalize.
Recitalize, yeah.
Because people pay you for that, don't they?
Right. Because clearly everybody who comes in singing Billie Eilish to your studio wants to do a recital.
Because recitalizing.
So all a recital is, right, is it's a way of making sure you have some songs memorized and you can do them at a performance level in front of an audience. So if that's the criteria, so many other things work. But we keep on putting our singers into that recital box, and it doesn't always serve them. So that's why I decided several years ago, too, I needed to make a change. I had students just like yours, singers who were terrified for a variety of reasons, and it just wasn't serving them. It didn't give the payoff of what they needed, and it didn't get them closer to the kind of performing they actually wanted to do. That was the big thing.
Right.
So there are lots of ways to skin your cat. There are lots of ways to show that you know how to do songs. So it was about, 2018. I had a singer who also couldn't participate in my regular studio recitals because she was taking care of a disabled child at home. And she would come to voice lessons, which was wonderful for her, but she could never participate. And so I jokingly asked her, I said, well, maybe we could just come and do a recital at your house. And she stared at me for a second and she said, you could. So I went over to her house to check it out, and she had this beautiful living room with rugs and everything. And she did a lot of dancing with like the Fred Astaire, dance company and things like that. She's an excellent ballroom dancer.
Oh, wow.
And I said, have you ever had a dance in here in your living room? And she said, no. She said, but that would be fun. I said, well, what if I help provide the music and the singers and you have a dance in your living room? And that was our recital. I had, 14 singers in my studio participate because they loved this singer. And they loved the idea of getting to do something different. And I put together a band and off we went. And when we got done with that night, it was such a good time. I kind of swore I'd never give a recital again.
It sounds like it must have been a total love fest.
It was everything I think singers want and everything that we as voice teachers want for our students. It was a chance to practice,
Yeah.
singing in front of an audience. The audience was busy doing the two-step, but that's real life. That's what's going to happen for hopefully all of our students. It was a way to learn music that they loved. So I had stuff from the Great American Songbook, and I had some Ali Moores, and I had some Ed Sheeran, anything danceable. And it was a way to practice singing with the live band and having to count off the band and all of that. And it was community. That's what I think I hear more than anything, Meredith, right? Community. Why do we have recitals? It's a chance for all of us in the studio to get together and to support each other. But that can happen in a lot of ways too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it also, like, the School of Rock has this model, and I'm not going to promote the School of Rock necessarily because I don't like the way they treat their teachers, but
yeah.
Other than that, I love their model of you're signing up to be in a band, which is what people want, right?
Right.
So then you show up at every Friday at the band rehearsal. That's what you're signing up for. BTW, you're also taking lessons on your instrument.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And I feel like that's such a community thing.
Mm-hmm.
That creates the kind of community that's much more real life for working musicians or even avocational musicians.
Totally. It's really what they dream of. And you sometimes won't know it if you're a voice teacher because the students just come in and say, well, I just want to learn to sing better.
Right.
But it's usually only half the equation. That's what I love about your book, Meredith, is that you are so good at getting to what's behind those first things that our students say to us and that first impulse. Your book is filled with that. And you helped teach me how to look for that on my students and how to kind of get into the hidden stuff underneath. So
thank you,
bless
Eden.
you. Guys, go get Money Notes. It is such a good book. I looked at my students as performers and artists, but I didn't really think that much about their brains. And now that's the first thing I think about because we're singing with brain first and then voice second. You taught me that. So yeah, that was great. So now when a singer comes in, I almost know what they're going to say before they leave. And it's often the last question when they got out the door. Like we sing through the songs and everything, and they were wrapping up the first lesson. They say, oh, by the way, it's always by the way, do you know any place where I could audition or perform? Right. And that's really question 1 and 2. And they leave it to the end because they're terrified of asking. And they don't think they should have to ask it. They're not sure where else to ask. But voice teachers, we're going to get asked that. What they mean is how do I perform?
Right.
So I started giving the same answer. Well, you could audition for this theater, that theater. You could, go to the open mic at this venue or that venue. But I realized those didn't really suit the performers I had. Either they'd gotten shut out of a community theater because
right.
Yeah, they didn't meet the criteria for the shows they were doing, or they couldn't make the rehearsals, a variety of reasons, or they didn't play guitar, so they couldn't do open mic. They needed a piano accompanist. They'd done karaoke, but they didn't want that to be the limit of everything they did. Right. So as you start to talk to your students more and more, you'll probably start hearing these stories of how they've been shut out of certain opportunities that they really wanted. So you have a choice, guys.
Because of age, gender, the type of song they're able to sing.
Yeah.
All the things that body size,
they may body type. Yes. Yeah. All the things they may have no control over.
Right.
Or just, they aren't accepted for who they are.
Right.
So when you're creating a recital opportunity, you are helping them celebrate exactly who they are and who they sound like right now. That's a wonderful gift that you can give to singers in your studio. So that's why I do that now, to the exclusion of almost anything else. The major change for a teacher who's trying to do that is that if you have done like a studio recital every holiday season, or maybe you did one every spring or so, where you rented a big facility to hold your entire studio, I want you to think about changing that. I want you to think about doing a smaller event with only a portion of your studio, and then doing another small event with a different section of your studio. That is closer to the rock and roll model.
It is. Okay, spell that out. Talk about what that looks like a little bit more. Wait, before you do, I'm going to real quick say, if you want Eden's free download, please put Eden in the chat, and you will get Eden's free download with ideas and a way to get more information. Put Eden in the chat. Okay, carry on. Sorry. Okay. So tell me what that looks like.
So if a rock and roll school or something like that has a small ensemble, right? It's a small group of people who are all working together for a small group of songs. That's very different than your traditional recital mode, where it's usually one or two songs, standing up in a big space like a church or an auditorium or something like that, and then singing with either a karaoke accompaniment or sometimes just a piano accompaniment.
Right. And they don't know
So,
each other.
and they don't know each other. They might do an opener or a closer together if you're lucky. Yeah, there tends not to be that same level of support. And so teachers, if you're going for that sense of community, you're actually going to strengthen that if you have a smaller group, right? Let that smaller group of people get to know each other and then have a variety of small groups together, just like in real life, right?
Right.
How many times when we go to a big party or something, if there's 100 people in the room, are you going to meet all 100? No. So make it more like real life in that way. So it could be all your adult students get together to do an event. And maybe it's more casual, right? Lots of adult students don't want to actually sing alongside 10-year-olds because each group is terrified, right? So give the adults their own thing to do. Maybe they have a casual meetup. I call those kind of events in my studio happy hours. And I invite adults only, and they come over and I get a bassist and a guitarist, and we just sing. It's more casual. It's not pressured.
That's so fun. Okay, if you were going to do a happy hour like that, how frequently would you do that?
I do it once every couple of months.
Once every couple of months. And if I was a piano owner like me, rather than an actual pianist like you, could I like just do it with karaoke tracks?
You totally could. The point is that you're giving them performing experience in a lower pressured environment than a recital, right? Recitals tend to be quiet. We only clap at the end. Sometimes there's a program or not, when I'm thinking a very traditional recital.
Right.
So this is more like what they would do if they were going out to karaoke. So sometimes I'll do those happy hours in my house. Either I'll play or I'll hire another person to play. I've also brought in a karaoke person to come into my house and just run that. And that can be an all ages experience and be really fun. But again, generally, young people like 18 or under tend to do better with same age. And active adult singers, 21 and over, tend to do better same age. So if you've been combining that, think seriously about taking those part.
Yeah. That's so true. Okay, so is, things in your student's house, things in your house.
Field trip.
Remember when I was going to say, you mentioned field trips to open mics. I thought that sounded like such a hoot, especially for your adult students, right?
Yes. And some of the places we go are only 21 and up. So I do have a few really talented teenagers who do kind of the band thing. And so I know they're getting, some stage experience outside of me. And I'm glad about that.
Yeah.
If you know your students and what kind of performing they're doing independent of you, then you can kind of tailor the opportunities. I fill in the gaps for those students however I can. But with my adults, a lot of them don't get any chance to perform. So doing the happy hours and doing field trips is really it for them. So we go, I'm in Rhode Island, so we go to a club in Boston called Club Cafe, which is this giant gay bar in Boston on Columbus Avenue. But it has a really small live piano bar 7 nights a week. And many of the nights they have open mic and the piano players are excellent. So I bring my singers in, and I know a bunch of the players there, and they get to be in a small space, but it feels really big. And it's a place where they could end up performing eventually. Then sometimes we also go to karaoke. Somebody chooses a karaoke spot. And if I can join, great. And if not, they go out on their own without me and they send me videos. And so, because my singers have much more of a social life than I do.
Oh, yeah. And that was another thing you talked about at Nat. Sorry, everybody. I keep referring to, I'm thinking back on Eden's presentation at Nat's. You also talked about virtual events.
Yes. And of course, during the pandemic, a lot of studios switched to virtual events online.
Yeah, but we can still make use of those.
You absolutely can. So don't think that that's a skill that you have to ditch now that the pandemic is in the back mirror, right? No. Continue to use it. Our friend Cynthia Vaughn's, back when she ran Magnolia Music Studio, which I think is now under another name, had a Saturday song share that's still going on. Many groups, too, have invitational open mics. I participate in some of those. For me, as my own performing, because it's so great. I get to meet people I'd never get to meet otherwise. So you could host that not only for your studio, but for other people in your community or out of it. So suddenly your studio gets known, outside of your community because you offer this virtual event. It's amazing who turns up.
Yeah. That would be really fun. Can I tell you something that worked for my studio for a minute there?
Yeah. Sure. Yeah.
And this is something that You could, if you knew a musician in town, you could totally bribe them. Okay, let's say it's you and me, Eden. In my
Uh-huh.
case, it was me and my husband, right?
Mhm.
And you have a gig that is on like Thursday night or a Tuesday night. And of course, the person who hired you is pressuring you to bring people in, which
Ha-ha!
you
Yeah.
so don't want to do, right?
Uh-huh. I know
And
what you're thinking.
but if I went to you and said, hey, Eden, could a couple of my students sit in with you? Right?
Yeah.
Each one of those students is going to bring another 6 to 12 people with them.
Mhm.
And you're going to play for them for like 2 songs.
Mhm.
Right?
I've done
So
yes.
I mean, I used my husband's gig for that for a really long time, but I know people who are, I mean, every singing pianist has that situation. Am I wrong?
No, you're right. I used to do what we called live karaoke here in Rhode Island, where I would be the piano player. I'd get a band together, but it was open to the public. And
Right.
so there were some of my singers, but also just people who populated those venues, who guitarists or whatever would come
Right.
in. They would just say, hey, can we do this one, this one? And our band just would sit there and play. So that was really, really fun to do. We had really good musicians for that. But I love that idea. And I love it when you more singers, more singers, more singers. Singers need more time to practice with live players. We don't have enough time to practice. And so 2 recitals a year does not cut it.
It's not enough.
It's not enough. Not for the goals they really have. So let's say that you're a studio owner, you're saying, well, I don't even know what my students want. Or they tell me I want this. Okay, singers lie. Sorry, they do. They don't know what they want.
Oh,
They don't know.
people lie.
All people lie, right? They don't know how to verbalize what they want, but they can probably verbalize the end goal. The end
Right.
goal is feeling accepted for who they are and getting to be part of a community of music makers.
And
That's it.
getting people to clap for them.
And yeah, a live audience. But
Live
then, of course,
audience.
yeah, if you get down to nitty gritty, it often means popular music, not necessarily art songs. And if you teach show tunes and you
Stop it.
teach popular music, I know I'm preaching to your choir, but if it doesn't always mean popular music and show tunes done in a recital format, try to fix that. Okay. So that's where I see it falls down. That's going to be disappointing for absolutely everybody. Absolutely everybody. So and your students aren't going to tell you that. They're just going to say, oh, that was great. Thanks. See you next fall. Right. The way to find out is to survey them. So in the handout that I've got, the PDF that you can, if you put my name in there, you're going to see a link to the surveys that I did the past 4 years, where I surveyed my entire studio. So you can see what kind of questions I ask. And I asked very leading questions of the people in my studio, basically what's working and what's not. And then I really had to listen to the answers, and they told me. So they told me, I like this about the studio. I don't like this. And I also asked them to evaluate how their year had gone for them. What worked for you last year musically? What didn't happen for you? And many of them said, I didn't get on stage the way I wanted to. Right. I didn't write the song I wanted to write. Right. It's pain, guys. That's pain. And I'm very, very touched that they take the time to write that. But then once they do, we as studio owners and music people have to help them. So, but then I had the roadmap on how to help. So I thought, oh, these two want to write songs. I can get the two of them together and we'll write songs and then we'll release a video of the song.
Yeah.
Or these three are auditioning for, the musical at their high school. So let me get the three of them together to do a quick little showcase so they can get up in front of a crowd and practice these songs. Right. And we'll just do it, cookies and milk or something, and half an hour of time. This one is scared of performing in front of anybody. So in the middle of her lesson, I'll put her on a Facebook Live for just 2 seconds. So that way she gets used to getting positive reinforcement immediately. Right.
Oh, yeah. Oh, that's good.
Yeah. It's one person, but that solves their problem. That is the kind of recital they want to do. Instead of making them wait 9 months to go do one that they don't want to do, you can move the ball forward any way you can with each individual student based on their own desires and goals that you asked about. And then it's wonderful. It's so exciting to see how they light up and to realize that they see themselves getting better and better the same way you do as their teacher.
Right.
Isn't it great?
Yeah, because it's in them, it's happening every day, so they don't see it.
Right.
Just like
right.
all motor improvement. So, okay, I'm just going to say it out loud, Eden.
Mm-hmm.
Some of these things you're talking about are not extra cost, but some of them are. And some of them are extra time, which
Yeah.
also could be extra cost.
Mm-hmm.
So, like, for instance, when you pulled the little trio together, so, and I'm going to count you as one of the musicians, right? So you
Okay.
have 3 musicians
Mm-hmm.
that you're paying for a whatever 2 or 3 hour gig.
Mm-hmm.
So are people happy to pay that extra for that? Or how did you handle that?
That's a good question. Yes, I would do it kind of on a per project basis. So I don't charge, a monthly or a yearly tuition rate. For my singers, I tend to be more project based, but I've done yearly tuition in the past. So, but for the past few years, because my entire studio has been more project based, this is the way I do it. So I'll propose a project and say, okay, we're going to be doing P Still Hayride Volume 2. And we're going to be performing live at Pump House Music Works on May 21st. I need to know who's in. Here's the cost. This cost includes, it's the cost of the band, renting the venue, recording, video, publicity, everything, and a couple of complimentary tickets that you can give away. And then everybody else has to pay full price.
Awesome.
So,
okay,
yeah.
wait. So these are people who are taking weekly lessons anyway?
Some of them are, and some only come in to do projects with me.
Just projects. So if someone's coming in just to do a project, let's say your whole studio is project based, because that, to me, that sounds like much more exciting as a teacher.
It is.
To be
I think
100% project based.
Mhm.
So then would you include lessons with that project?
Yes. Yes. Sometimes I'll include
That's
like little.
genius. You're a
Thank
freaking
you.
genius. Eden.
Hey, it takes one to know one. It's what I find is again, after doing this a bunch of times, you start seeing what do the students need? What are they asking for? And at the beginning of each project, they have to sign up and they have to talk with me before I'll admit them in. There are definitely some who sign up for everything. And I love that because this is their performing outlet, right? And I don't have to worry about recruiting. Like for the country one, I got an application from Hong Kong for the country one out of nowhere, right? Yeah, because she thought I want to be a songwriter. So for that country one, for the Hayride one, it was actually writing a country song, recording it, releasing it, and then doing a live event. That's the biggest project I ever did.
But so fun.
Yeah.
Okay,
so fun.
I want to throw, if anybody who is watching currently has questions for Eden, throw them in the chat now, because we're going to be wrapping up pretty soon. And I do want you to know that Hillary Feldman, who you met, said, that is genius.
Hillary, bless you. Thank you. It's fun. So I ended up doing like the 3 albums. So P Still Hayride was the last one. The first one I did in June of 2020 was called 6 Feet from Stardom. And that was supposed to be a live event. But instead, the pandemic turned it into a recording. And we did cover tunes. It's available on SoundCloud. And again, in that PDF that you can download, you can get links to everything. So you can hear everything online, see everything that I do. I've done showcases in local, watering holes where people invite people to come in and a variety of things. I've done a bunch of concerts in my own living room. I've had people come and coach my students, and we call it Sing for Your Supper. So we make it a potluck, and the singers sing a song before dinner, and then they get coached, and then they sing the same song after dinner. The idea to show that they've had some growth. Because in master classes, usually you only get to sing through it once, right?
Right.
And I thought that doesn't work. That doesn't show any development at all. So instead, they get to sing it at least twice, if not 3 times. And I hire a little combo. They pay for that because they understand that to do that on their own, to try to hire a combo and a coach would cost them a lot more. But if it's me and if it's spread out over like 5 or 6 singers, and that's all I allow, then that's a fun evening. And it's not pressured. And they actually, come away with some actionable items to get better and better.
Yeah. And it could be a project-based thing again.
Absolutely could. Yeah. I did it for like 4 Sundays in August, and I'm actually preparing to set that up again for September, like once a month, just in my living room, just for fun.
So fun.
I get to eat well too. So my students are great cooks. I'll tell you, they're such great cooks. Yeah. I only do it for the food. Because I have a few that just bring some fantastic food.
So it's this much money and then leftovers.
Exactly.
I get to keep all the ambrosia.
A studio travels on its stomach. Right. It totally does. So, during the pandemic, I did online versions of that too. And we did watch parties, and I would have somebody, come online to talk to us about recording techniques and songwriting. And now we're kind of going back and forth. I still do some online stuff. Most of it's in person, but safely in person. but it's what the students are asking for. And then now I've trained them, of course. They're asking me, when do we get to do Sing for Your Supper again? When's the next
Yeah.
showcase? Which is fun.
You are
It's really
truly
fun.
a fount of ideas, Eden Casteel.
Thank you. But basically, if you're, I appreciate that. And thank you. If you're watching, just realize, ask your students what they want. Ask them multiple ways. And then when you get the answers, really think about what's that saying. You may already be doing some very good things for them. I'm pretty sure you are if you're watching, but you may need to just fine tune it a little. Think about doing smaller, more frequent events with only half of your studio or only a section of your studio, rather than doing large events only a couple of times a year. It'll be more cost effective for you, and it'll be much better for your students' musical growth.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you, Eden. I like how you wrapped that up. It was almost like your seminar. Thank you
That's
so much for being here today and sharing your genius with us and
Thank
everybody.
you so much. Thank you, Meredith, and everybody. Go get Money Notes. Such a great book.
And again, wait, before they go, I have to do the thing. So put Eden, see her first name up there in the EDEN. Put Eden in the chat and she will send you the Neuro-Vocal bot will send you that download so you can get more information from Eden and about Eden from that download. Okay?
Absolutely.
And it's free. Okay?
Thank you so much.
So, thanks, Eden. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.